Hello, everybody. This is Heather Markel, and welcome to another episode of the Inspired Nomads. And if you've heard it before or watched it before, then you know that we are all about finding out what happens when you leave stability to pursue your passion. In this case, I talk mostly with people that have the passion of traveling the world. We're going to have some upcoming stories, though, of meet people who have just sort of left stability to do something that they have their heart set upon. But in today's interview, I'm happy to introduce to you Heide Leighty. Am I pronouncing that right? Sorry.
It's actually Leighty, but that's fine.
Leighty, sorry. Heide Leighty, who I had the pleasure of meeting on my recent trip to Peru with Peru Hop. Wrote a blog post about that, about Peru Hop, which is a great company. I am currently coming to you from Cape Town, South Africa. But Heidi, where are you today?
I'm in Santiago, Chile today.
Awesome. So Heidi, this is fun because you are the first person I think that I've interviewed that is traveling as a family. So
yeah, I was thinking about that.
I think you're with your husband, and how old is your son?
He just turned 13.
Wow, awesome. What a special experience. Oh my God, totally jealous. Well, I'm not really jealous. I'm jealous of my younger self that would have loved to do
right.
that. So Heidi, can you tell us first, the first question I'd love to start off with is, what is the stability you guys left behind?
Had a nice house in Houston. We had been living there for 12 years, and we have 2 dogs, and my husband has had the same job for worked for the same company for 20 years, but not all in the same place. He's worked a lot of different places, but we had this rare sense of stability for about 10 years in Houston, and then it was time to go. So my husband and I both turned 50, and it was time, and my son reached a point in school where it was the perfect time to go. So that's what we did. We took off at the end of May. So as soon as school was out.
So it sounds like you left like the classic sort of corporate America kind of setup.
Yeah. Although it's a little bit different because my husband has been an expat his entire career. So okay. He's actually Australian. And when we first got together, we were in Papua New Guinea, and then we were in Angola. And then we moved to the States to have some after living in hardship locations for a long time. And so he was even an expat in the States, and then finally got his green card and got his citizenship about 6 months ago. So it wasn't like we were, yeah, it was huge, a huge thing. So that's what we did have, this sort of corporate life, lots of friends, and in a big, in Houston. And so when we left, our friends were like, wait, what? So, but it was the right time for us to do it. So
I have to ask this question, sorry, because it won't go away. What did you do with the dogs?
Okay, so we have 2 dogs. One is crazy and one is not quite as crazy. So that was a huge, huge challenge of what to do. So the dog that is not so crazy is staying with a family that absolutely adored her and was a friend of mine, and they have 2 little kids, and they just adored Peach. So she went to stay with that family. And our crazy dog is being boarded at a boarding facility who absolutely loves him. And they board a lot of rescue dogs, and they know him, and they know how to deal with him. And he was always happy when he stayed there. So that's where he is, and he's happy, and I get pictures of him every once in a while. So the alternative wasn't so great, so of what to do with him, because he really is, he's crazy.
Well, I'm glad.
So they're both in good situations, and when we go back, we can, they can come back to us. So
cool.
But that's always a big question.
Yeah, I love animals, so I'm always curious.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you had a pretty nifty setup and got to see a lot of places already, and you're a traveler, but why give up that stability in the first place?
I think it was always the plan. I think that we had set up our lives. I mean, we were fortunate that my husband had a good job, but part of the reason we lived in hardship locations was to save money, to be able to have more flexibility later. So, and so I think always the plan was to go back to traveling. It wasn't to stay in one place. So while it seems like we had this very stable, ideal life, that's not what we wanted to begin with. So, does that make sense? So yep. It's like, so that 10 years in Houston was actually the anomaly from the rest of our lives.
And why would you not want that stability? What about?
Because we're travelers.
You're travelers. So what about the traveling are you excited about?
It's different every day. I guess seeing different things. Really, the different everyday thing is the biggest part of it. Seeing other people, meeting other people, seeing other parts of the world and how they live. That's always, I guess, who I've been, and that's what brought my husband and I together. Was we traveled together, and then we obviously traveled well together, and that was 20 years ago. So
wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So I guess I don't know anything different. It's never stability. Stability isn't ever what I really wanted. Mm-hmm. So and traveling is what I've always wanted. So but we were fortunate that we were able to save money to be able to travel a little bit more comfortably, so we don't have to work while we're on this year, and then we'll see what happens later.
So that's interesting, because the last interview that I had, those of you watching, was with Kason Lane. We talked about how one of the appeals of the lifestyle of traveling is that novelty, right, of seeing a new place and meeting the new people and having those new experiences, but that eventually it's sort of like the novelty sometimes can wear off, and then you need to look for sort of other ways to find novelty in your life. But I'm hearing that you guys have been traveling for a really long time and still find it novel. So
right.
Is there anything that you relate to in that? Like, are you doing anything in particular? Is it a feeling? Like, what makes the experience still really novel and fun to you?
Because we're still going to different places. Like when we planned this particular year, we looked at places that we wanted to spend more time, where we couldn't just go for a 2-week vacation. So we are going to play, but also we're breaking it up with familiarity. So we get to go see our family in Australia and spend time in our own house in Australia for a few weeks this fall, or in October. So it'll be spring. And we planned it so that there's a lot of novelty, and then there's some time that's, building in downtime or quiet time to be able to refresh, to go back out again. But I understand the novelty wears off. In some ways, it's not necessarily that the novelty wears off. It's just that you get tired of things being different all the time. So you get tired of everyone speaking a different language around you all the time, or the food is, I get tired of burgers and hot dogs all the time, or the food in Chile is not the same as in Peru.
Definitely not.
So I, that's what I get tired of. Is it's not the novelty, it's that that it's the hardship sometimes gets too hard, and you need to take a break from that. So not that I am looking for new novelty, it's that you just need to refresh sometimes. Does that make sense?
It does. And actually, I know we just talked about that before starting our interview, but what is one of the ways that you're actually refreshing right now?
We're taking a day off, we're in an apartment for 10 days, which in a city that we wouldn't necessarily have stayed 10 days, but we knew at this point, after 3 months of travel, that we were going to need to have a break. So we planned 10 days in an apartment where there's stuff to see here in Santiago, but we don't have to be out touristing every single day.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah, I think that's a
So,
common feeling. In another of at least one or two other interviews, we very much talk about how when you've been on the road for a while, you totally just need to just chill and feel like you're actually living a normal life and sitting in a cafe instead of running out to all of the tourist sites. So
right. Yeah.
totally relate. So wow, my mind is brewing with like lots of questions, but
That's okay.
so, you talked about you saved up so that you don't need to work, and you've kind of earmarked a year. Why a year as opposed to 6 months, 2 years? What was in that choice?
A year was it was the longest we could do at this point. So when Andrew, my husband, turned 50, he could retire because he qualified for retiree medical through his company, and that was the target. My son is in 8th grade, and he wants to go to a traditional high school. So it made sense for us to take 8th grade to travel. So that's what the year is. But then he goes to high school, and then we can go back out on the road. There's lots of things that we want to see and do in long-term plans that don't fit in this year. But that's what this year is because it was the year that he was in school. I mean, that was the year that we could take him out of school. Okay. If that makes sense.
And interesting, because you've had this interesting travel life and now you're taking time off. What is your feeling? I know one of the anxieties people have when they think about quitting their job or leaving whatever stability they have to pursue a passion, especially travel. It's like, what if it doesn't work out? What if I run out of money? What am I going to do? Are you aware of any thoughts in your mind and they might actually be positive thoughts about when you return and what, if anything, you would need to do for work?
That's a good question. My husband is a crazy planner. So as far as budgeting for this year, we've stayed on budget so far. I mean, it's only been 3 months, but we've stayed pretty close on budget with a little bit of a cushion because we're going to be in a lot more expensive places pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then we've also built in that when we go back to Houston, we have a cushion that, it gives us time to figure out what we're going to do. So Andrew was able to take a leave of absence, but what that means is that he's not guaranteed a job when he goes back. So if there's a job available for him, then there might be something for him. But if not, he can find something else to do. But he's well placed that he could find consulting. He's got a rare skill set as far as natural gas planning because he worked for an oil and gas company. He has a rare skill set, so it's not like he won't be able to find a job. But and I worked in real estate before I left. I have a background in environmental policy, but I worked in real estate. I can go back to real estate. That's easy. So those aren't huge worries as far as what we want, but it's what we want to do when we go back. We're not quite sure yet. We've got some time to figure that out. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, but then we also have that cushion that we could downsize from the house that we had before and have a bigger retirement cushion. So we don't have to work for the next 20 years. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
I know it's a very rare thing probably, but that's the way we've set up our lives for the last 25 years to be able to do this when we turn 50.
I love this conversation because, well, first off, hey, if anyone here listening is like in your 20s, listen to that because
right.
you could actually plan so that when you're reaching 50, you can be set to have a travel life or whatever life that you want and not be worried about making money. But more importantly, I think, especially with the travel lifestyle, the reason that I'm even doing this video series and doing what I do is, so so much of what I've seen is geared towards millennials, that millennials are the only ones that can really just go and up and quit, because they're the only ones that don't have to worry, when you're in your 20s, your 30s, you can get a job, no sweat, right? And that those of us that are older, once we reach our 40s, should be like, I don't know if I should leave my job, because, once I'm nearing 50, I don't know if I'll get a job. I don't know, this might happen, that might happen. And I love what you're saying, because I'm hearing that, first off, you've planned so that if work didn't come in, you're going to be okay anyway. And now you've got options to downsize to bring in more money. But I love that I'm hearing just a lot of faith, both in yourself and your husband, that, that you'll just figure it out.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. It's that we don't have that, oh, well, what are we going to do? It's kind of like, and it's not so different from people that they quit their job and then they hit the road and they think they're going to go for 6 months, and then 3 years later they're still on the road. It's not that different. It's like, it's all going to work out. So we've been fortunate, well, not necessarily fortunate, it's Andrew being the crazy planner that he is, that we have built a cushion to be able to do this. But our lifestyle of traveling is very different from our lifestyle at home, but it's not uncomfortable, as far as uncomfortable in that we need comfort around us. It's that this is how I am comfortable, is traveling and, staying in dodgy places and,
Yeah. So can you say a little bit more about that? Because this comes up a lot too. I think there's people out there that assume they can't travel full time because only rich people can do that. And could you please explain like what the actual lifestyle is that you're living?
Yeah. I mean, like it goes back to Nomadic Matt, who wrote that book about $50 a day. I mean, we're basically doing that as a family. So we have our budget for, like, we're staying, all our accommodation is less than $50 a night for our family. Yeah. So it's whether it's a private room in a hostel or an Airbnb some places, or, but we also have saved tons of frequent flyer miles and credit card points, and played that game as well. So that all our flights for this whole year almost all of our flights are on frequent flyer points. Wow. Or credit card points. Yeah. That's a way to save money, and all that kind of takes is just a few years of planning. It's not even 20 years of planning. It's a couple years of planning. So if you're 45 and you want to travel at 50, take that to start looking at your life and to sort out that, the points and the frequent flyer miles and all that sort of stuff, because that saves a huge amount of money. Yeah. But then, we eat cheaply. We stay in cheap places, and we don't do all the activities. And we look very closely at how much stuff costs, and we didn't have to do that so much at home, But that's part of the travel life. Really, you can't do it all.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you for that, because, for any of you thinking that this full-time travel might be for you, it's, the reality is that you don't have to be rich, but that being said, you're not living a rich life. Right. I know that when I was in New York, I had a lovely apartment, great clothes, whatever. And now, though I got upgraded, the room I'm in recording this video actually is very nice, is much nicer than most places I'm in. On average, I'm also in a budget room, in a hostel or a budget hotel. I'm taking buses instead of cabs. I have a microwave in this room, so I'm microwaving my I had oatmeal this morning. I'll heat up some pasta for dinner. So, there's a lot of cost cutting, and that budget is really crucial. So I love that we're kind of on the same page with that. And the reminder also about the miles. Yes. Think of your life in points now.
Think of your life in points. That's right.
Let me ask you, I hope you don't mind me asking you this, but it really struck me when we first met in Peru. You had pretty much just started your journey, and you had all of your stuff stolen. So And I know you
We did.
oh, we were traveling with too much stuff anyway, but how'd you handle, because you were so calm about it. I just wondered if you could talk about that, and then what you've done to sort of like what stuff became the essential stuff that you replaced and what didn't you replace?
That's an excellent question. I think that we were, a lot of people, they want to plan and bring all the perfect things. And so you do all your research to bring the perfect laptop and what cameras and which, and little bits and pieces. Like I had, all those little rolled up thing with a metal straw and knife and fork and, spoon and all these tiny things, and my good wine opener and my really good headphones and all the, like the perfect things that we planned for our trip, that all was stolen. We only were left with our clothes and our phones. So, and like the perfect travel wallet and all that stuff, all that was stolen. And it was stolen 3 weeks into our trip. And I had to reassure my son that our life was not over and that we also are fortunate that we had a cushion, that we had, that again, that wasn't going to kill us or destroy our trip, because even if we don't get anything back from the insurance, the travel insurance, it wasn't going to break us. And we talked a little bit about that, but it also, we do have insurance, but the time it has taken in the last 2 months to go, dealing with the insurance, we still haven't gotten our state, the judgment from the underwriters yet. It should happen like in the next week sometime. But my husband, like our blog is way behind because all the time that he would be blogging, he's been dealing with the insurance company. And it was a lot of stuff, like, my glasses, my glasses, my sunglasses, little stuff that's gone now. But the only things what we have replaced is we had to buy a laptop because we didn't have one, and you can't even fill out the insurance forms without a laptop. So the very first thing that was purchased was a laptop. My down coat was stolen. So that was one of the first things that we had to replace because we've been in South America in the winter. So I had to replace my down coat, which was very challenging in Lima because I'm not a perfect size 6. So finding a down coat was very difficult. I'd go into North Face and I said, well, do you have an extra large? And they're like, oh no, like it wouldn't even occur to them to carry an extra large. So I had to buy a men's coat, and that's fine. It's fine. But what else have we replaced? Yesterday or day before yesterday, Andrew got a new GoPro because we're going to the South Pacific next week. We bought a new wine opener. What else?
I love it. That's what's essential, the wine opener. Yay.
We were in Argentina. We needed a wine opener.
Obviously.
So we bought a wine opener. We were in Salta. We had to buy a new wine opener.
Don't put the wine opener in your carry-on bag on the airplane because they will take it.
That's right. That didn't happen before. It happened. We lost that actually in Colombia. I'm like, really? It's been for the United States. They didn't take it, but they took it in Colombia. Now I know that one.
Islands.
Oh no. No, I know that one now. But medications. That was a huge challenge. I have asthma, and I had a year's worth of my asthma medication, and it was crazy expensive. It was crazy expensive in the States. But I was able to buy it over the counter in Peru. So I have 6 months worth or 8 months worth that I bought over the counter in Peru without a problem. So I'll be okay
for probably, right?
Oh my God, so much cheaper.
Yeah.
A fraction of what I paid for it with insurance in the States.
Yeah.
But that was a big argument with the insurance company too, because they're like, well, your health insurance should pay for the stolen medication. Well, they don't. So that's an issue.
Yeah.
But that was really the wine opener, the computer, the GoPro, a jacket. Oh, my son needed a new swimsuit because his swimsuit was stolen. That's all we've replaced.
Wow.
That's not true. My son reads a lot, and so I had a friend send him a new Kindle.
Okay.
So because buying a Kindle in Peru was incredibly expensive, so my friend bought him a Kindle and sent it to Peru and we had it sent to the Peru Hop office in Cusco, and that So he has a new Kindle, and that's all we've replaced so far. We have plans to replace stuff when we get to Australia, but here in South America, it's ridiculously expensive. Especially, we were in Argentina quite a while, and everything was like 3 times as much as what it costs in the States. So
Yeah.
we'll just wait. We'll wait till we get to Australia to replace a couple things. My son's Nintendo Switch was important, and we'll replace that when we get to Australia. But a lot of that stuff, you don't need.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love that, and that's I feel like I still haven't gotten it right. This whole thing about packing what I need, and I've now been home and unpacked and repacked maybe 3 times, and
oh
each
wow.
time I'm better. But I left in February, so this is the longest drag, and it's like I still feel like I've sent some stuff home. I could send more stuff home. It's like this battle.
Well, and there's weird things that you bring that when at home I made cold brew, and so we drank cold brew at home. I don't go out to buy coffee. I made cold brew at home. I make very good cold brew. So I tried to figure out how I could do that on the road. So I found this little like camping cold brew setup. It doesn't work. So I'm carrying this Nalgene bottle with a cold brew thing for no reason. And it's taking up space in my luggage. So at what point do I dump it? My son has clothes that he's outgrown. At what point do we dump them?
Yeah.
Dump it.
I've actually pretty much everywhere that I have been, I've left stuff behind, and just, sometimes I give it to people. Sometimes I just leave it in the room and hope somebody will take it.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff we're still carrying, because when we get to Australia, we have a home there and we can, but yeah, my son has clothes that he outgrew and never wore. So it's just like, oh, what do we do with these things? But, and I guess we could just leave them and somebody would pick them up. But you always carry too much.
Yeah.
And you bring a very limited number of clothes, and it's still, you wear the same clothes all the time. You don't even need all the clothes you have. So
yeah. So I'm curious. I know that. So you set out, at least for now, for a year of travel. Was there, at least at the onset, was there a goal that you had that at the end of the year that you'd have accomplished something, or what was the reason that you're doing it?
No, nothing that we're just lots of places to see. So that was the biggest part of it, is lots of places to see. So we're traveling for 14 months. We don't have a flight home yet, but there was lots of places we want to see, and we did need to get to Australia to see friends and family. And then when we go back, we'll figure it out. But we'll take some time to decompress and debrief before we get home. So and then figuring out the travels after that. So.
And in the 3 months that you've been on the road, and I know you've done this before, sort of, but is there anything you've learned about life, about travel, about anything? Maybe it surprised you. Maybe it's just a practical tip. Anything you've learned?
I think just flexibility. Being flexible is so important. And the surprising thing was, after we were robbed, the resilience of just kind of keep going and going forward. I don't know if that's necessarily surprising, but I was surprised about how I handled it, and how all 3 of us sort of just moved on, and maybe I'll have more insights 6 months down the road, because we're at that point right now where we're tired and we're just taking a break, and hopefully we've planned well for that, because we know where we're going to be every few months, that we've planned those kind of breaks. But that's a big thing, is how important breaks are. And you can't just you can't just be a tourist every day for, 14 months. So.
Right. Absolutely. The other curiosity I have for people listening, again, because you're, I think, the first traveling family I've talked to.
Yeah.
And some people say they can't travel because of the kids. So do you attribute being able to do that, I guess, to the planning that would happen a long time ago included the child, and two, what's it like traveling as a family, and especially what's his experience as far as you know it?
That's a really good question. A lot of people think they can't travel because of their kids, and that's clearly not true. But it depends on the kid. But the more you travel with your kids, the better they get at it. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, my kids are just," especially little teeny kids. People are like, "Oh, it's just so hard. My kid he can't handle it." But then your kid is like 7, and it's just like, "Oh my God, we've never really traveled, and they just can't handle it." But the more you travel with your kids, the better they get at it. And my kid he likes his routine. He likes structure in his life. But he also likes learning stuff. He likes history, and he likes seeing stuff. And I don't know if it's nature or nurture. I don't know if he likes museums because we've always taken him to museums, or because that's just who he is. But he does like structure, and he does like routine, and sometimes he doesn't want to go out. He's just like, "Oh, I just want to hang out and watch videos all day on my phone." And we allow that to a point, but it's just like, well, you need to go out for a little while. You need to see you can't just watch videos all the time and hide in the apartment or the hostel or wherever we are. But the most important thing is start when your kids are little and take small trips and get your kids used to travel. But before we even started this trip, my son had been to 7 countries, because the more you travel with your child, the better they get at it. So this is just the life now. And he was not terribly resistant, because this is what we do. So.
Wow. That's a viewpoint I haven't heard before, and I love that. And for, especially for anyone watching this that is thinking that as a family they can't travel, it's kind of like what I'm hearing is train your kid from an early age to travel.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's great. That's a really good one. So before we close, any other juicy tips or comments that you want to share with the audience?
I think that the biggest part, I guess, is to plan for it. And you don't have to plan for it for 20 years necessarily. But if you're like in your 40s and you're like, "Oh, okay, I want to go," you can go. Give yourself a year to get your life in order and get your points built up and make a plan. And don't just quit your job and go, but actually set yourself up for success. And I think that's the biggest part. I think people are like, "Oh, I'm going to go in 6 weeks. And I don't really know what my plan is, and I'm just going to go." There's a Facebook group I'm part of that, people of all ages, that's all it. And this happens all the time. It's just like, "Okay, I'm going to go be nomadic." But they don't really have a plan, and you have to set yourself up for success. And I think that's the biggest tip I have is it's all well and good to just go, but set yourself up for success on the road and know what you're getting into.
Awesome.
Does that make
Heidi,
sense?
if anyone listening wanted to read your blog or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
Sure. Our blog is airportsandsunsets.com. Pretty easy. And we also, my husband Andrew posts on Instagram at Airports and Sunsets. I'm at Instagram at Heide Leighty, which is difficult because my name ends with an E. So it's HeideSeekie. I'm on Facebook, but mostly that's friends and family. But so Instagram and our blog, which is Airports and Sunsets, or Heide Leighty. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Perfect. And I will write all that below when I edit the video. So thank you so much for joining us. I really, really loved your insights, some new ones, and very rewarding. And like I said, you've handled when I first met you, I was like, wow, she's just like, "Oh yeah, we had too much stuff. It's gone now. Next." So very impressive.
Okay.
So for those of you listening today or who have listened, whether that be on one of the podcasts or if you have been watching us on YouTube, thank you. And maybe you are someone that should be a guest, or you know someone else that should be. I would love to hear from you. You can fill out a questionnaire to see if you qualify at www.interviewquestionnaire.com. Ideally, you have left something stable and you've been on the road or been at your passion for at least 3 months. And you are mid-career, so you're not a millennial. I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, always give a shout out to Heather at heathermarkel.com. You can also find us on our Facebook group, The Inspired Nomads. And until the next episode, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.